Welcome to Tip That Scale, where we talk about navigating the work environment, the job market, and everything in between. What was your journey like? The journey to the career you have today. Many of us have forgotten what it feels like to get our first real job, especially after graduating from college. Today, I'm talking to Claire Wilbanks, a recent graduate of CSU Fullerton with a degree in communications with an emphasis in PR. It's refreshing to hear from young people, lean on their enthusiasm, and listen to their worldview. Enjoy my conversation with Claire. The reason I invited you on the podcast is because you have a different perspective of work, of school, and how school ties into work. I feel like that's so important for a lot of us who are seasoned, a little bit older, and we may have forgotten what it's like when we leave school looking to get into the workforce and what I'll do in quotes, our first real job. We tend to forget that joy, that anticipation, that expectations. That's the reason you are here today. So I want to welcome you, Claire Wilbanks. Welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, for sure.
Of course.
I am a recent graduate of California State University, Fullerton.
Woo-hoo!
I graduated maybe 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more than that now. I majored in communications with an emphasis in public relations.
Nice.
The cool thing about Cal State Fullerton program is that it is geared towards entertainment, public relations. Like if that's what you wanted to do, you could definitely take all those classes. It's also like the biggest communications department this side of the Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah, it seems wrong when I say it, but I had to Google it recently. So
I never knew that. When we're talking about universities, especially universities in Orange County in Southern California, I never knew that Chapman University, very near CSU Fullerton, has a huge focus on media and television and film production. I never knew that either. You think it's USC or UCLA, something that's closer into LA, especially USC. So communications, largest on this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more that it makes sense. My graduating class had 1,300 people just in my College of Communications.
Wow.
And CSUF is the biggest CSU out of all of them.
I didn't know that either.
I know. I always thought it was Long Beach because it has such a much bigger campus than we do. But I think we have, since we're a commuter school, I think our student body is larger than Cal State.
There's CSU Los Angeles.
Yeah, Northridge is also one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's honestly so many that every time I see a new one and I'm like, wait, where is that?
Where is that one? Yeah. I would say it makes sense that it's a commuter school because of its location and because it is in Orange County, pulling people from, say, Newport, Costa Mesa, Irvine, Fullerton, Orange, maybe even Long Beach.
I have friends that live in Seal Beach, so
yeah,
not far at all.
And it's actually relatively easy to get to as well. Not a lot of traffic.
No, not really ever, unless there's a baseball game.
We
the worst
know
traffic
that
I've ever had to sit in is for when there's baseball games.
Okay, so what prompted you to move into communications with an emphasis on public relations?
I started at community college. In high school, I was very adamant that I was going to be a singer.
Well, stop. Hold on. Let's preface this. You said it laughingly, but you do have a beautiful and amazing voice. You're very talented. So it's nothing to laugh at. It's a real skill. It's a real talent that so many of us, myself included, we are not that good at it. You don't want me singing anything. Okay, so back to community college.
And so I kind of was like, well, I don't need to go to a 4-year university for $100,000 a year because I can just move to LA. And then I had a couple of mentors who were like, one of them being my brother, being like, I think that you will regret not having a college degree. So I was like, fine. But at that point, I had already decided that I was just not going to apply to four-year universities. It was a little late in my journey. I was already a senior. My friends had already applied to all of their schools. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm fine with community college. And in California, it's really cool. You get 2 years free. So I was like, sounds good. And what is something other than music that interests me? And I thought that maybe I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse.
Right. Yeah.
I took one nursing class, and my teacher was just so horrible and rude. Not even that, like, she wasn't a good teacher, but she was just horribly rude. I got the flu for the first time since I was probably a child. I missed a couple days of classes just because I could not be there. And when I emailed her, she's like, "You're never going to come back from this. You're already
Wow.
too far behind." And I'd only missed a couple days.
Wow. What a great professor and teacher who's great in encouraging students.
Exactly. And so I was like,
Wow.
if this is what I have to look forward to, mental health wise, I still really am interested in, I think it's really cool. I'm very thankful for nurses, but if that's what I have to look forward to in this field, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And so the semester before that, or the quarter before that, I had taken a public speaking class and realized that I was really, really good at public speaking.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think we could probably deduce because I never shut up, but
Me too.
so then I was like, I think I can do something with this.
Mhm.
And so I quickly was, okay, nursing is not what I want. And so I went to a counselor and I was like, I really want to try being a communications major and I really want to be out of here in 2 years so I can transfer
Mhm.
to a 4 year. And so I did, but I wound up having to take 20 units a quarter
Wow.
to get out in two so that I can transfer.
But you did it.
I did it. I think some people were really affected by the pandemic and having to switch to online, but
Mhm.
I feel like having the space to do things, most of the classes were still synchronous, but having the space to do the work on my own time was really helpful for me
Yeah.
in my grades. I'd never had straight A's until college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. First of all, because learning and development, being in a teaching role is so important to me just because it's a position that influences others, highly influences others. You can make or break someone. So when you have a professor who is not going to encourage you, and I would say this is across the board, and to say, granted, people are in positions and they see things based on their experience. But it felt like that professor never talked to you to find out really who you are and what your interests are and align the learning process to your personality. You can't always do that, but as an instructor, as a professor, I would think that that would be a deciding factor. So boo on her.
Yeah,
Boo boo. Tomato, 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 tomato,
exactly.
tomato,
That's truly
tomato.
how I felt. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, well, you won't care if I never come back again,
right.
and I'm not going to come back again.
Yeah,
So I was at De Anza in Cupertino, and in the Bay Area, that's the biggest nursing program.
yeah.
So it's like I was already kind of punching above my weight a little bit just
Mhm.
because up until then I had not been a great student. And then I was like, well, if this is what I have to look forward to, and I'm going to have to work my butt off for these people who don't seem like they really care if I do or not, then I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah,
And then I went and I switched majors and I started having teachers that I felt actually cared about what they were teaching.
yeah.
And it was really eye opening.
It made a difference. The
Yeah.
other thing I want to point it out because, as you know, I went back to school as a seasoned professional. As an older adult, I went back to school to get my degree. So, first, my bachelor's, and during the pandemic, I got my master's all online, like you. It was perfect for me because if I go back to when I went to community college as well, shout out to community colleges. They don't get enough credit. Everybody tends to look at the 4 year, but community colleges, yay. If I had grown up here in California and could get community college for free, I was paying for it out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Please take advantage of it.
And
That's
I feel
money
like
on the table.
in high school, community college is almost like a shameful thing.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you're not going to a four-year university straight out of high school. Ooh, you must not be smart. You must not really care about your education. But then also, I won't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans.
Right.
I got 2 years for free, and then I transferred to a place that I really wanted to be.
Mhm. And you had a chance. This is the other thing about community college. You had a chance to figure out what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Because if you had gone directly into, let's just say, you had gone directly into a 4 year thinking it's nursing, it could have worked out, but you didn't have the opportunity to really see what else was out there, have that
Exactly.
experience. So, again, shout out to community colleges and especially online as well. Similar to community college. Oh, you don't want to be in person, but we really need to think about how people learn. For me, it was being able to leave work. I came home, and I always like to say my living room was my classroom.
Hmm.
My pace, granted, I was jamming it out, but and getting it done, but I was in a comfortable environment. When I graduated high school many, many years ago, I was working. I would leave work, go into and have an evening class. I did it for a while. It didn't work, which is why I didn't continue to pursue my degree. I
Yeah.
just couldn't leave work and then go to a classroom and then sit there and then go home and then try to find time. It was a lot.
I mean, that's kind of what happened for my mom is that she was going to school but also managing a toy store. And then they were like, "Well, we need you to take on more hours." And compensated her for it, but then she had to drop out of school because she had a job. And she
Hmm.
couldn't maintain both of them at the same time because it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah,
And back then you didn't have the opportunity to just come home and do it from your computer.
right. Shout out to your mom. Uh, let's talk about communications. I love having this conversation with you because it feels like we're cut from the same cloth. I was a communications major in the beginning. Actually, it was radio, television, film. Then I moved, which does that shock you?
No.
Same thing. Love public speaking, love communicating. Don't have a problem with it. What brought in the entertainment piece? Because communications can be across a number of different industries.
Yeah, so I feel like you, I love a little bit of celebrity gossip.
Yes.
Um, and when I was looking at transferring, I was looking at Northridge, I applied to UCLA, I applied to Davis, and I also applied to UC San Diego. But the only one I didn't get into, I also applied to SF State, but that was just more of like a,
Safety school, it was close to home.
yeah, if I got in and it was the only place I got in, all my parents went there. But I got in there no problem. So it was definitely a safety school. Um, the only school I didn't get into was UCLA, which was fine. Like it was a pipe dream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I got into all of these great communications programs, but then it came down to really weighing what each of them offered.
Mm.
So it was between UC San Diego, which is my brother's alma mater. He lives there, he works there still. I would have family close by, but their communications program focused more on it's part of their social sciences college, which
Mm.
was would have been really nice because my brother works for the social science college, so I would have seen him every day. But it just wasn't sparking any excitement in me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, I'll go there, I'll learn how to do press releases and maybe a PR plan for business companies. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, well, if that's what I have to look forward to, I'm not super excited about it.
Right.
What Fullerton had to offer was much more in depth. So the Department of Communications at Fullerton has four different concentrations to choose from.
Ooh.
You could be an advertising major, a journalism major, a PR major, or entertainment and tourism. I knew I wanted to do PR just because I'd taken a couple classes for it at De Anza and I knew I was kind of good at it. This seems like definitely something I could do and I could succeed at. And I think the proximity to LA was really helpful in my decision on that. one of the requirements for the major was an internship, which the other schools did not have. I think it just started adding up that this program seems like it has a better reach. Where like if I started as a public relations concentration, I could also be taking classes in all four of the concentrations if I wanted to. And I did. I took classes in all four of the concentrations just because what if I like one better than the other?
Right.
So I took journalism. I took, I think, only one advertising class just because maybe not. And then I took a couple entertainment and tourism classes on top of my PR classes. And some of them are combined. So, like, you can do an entertainment and PR course, you can do a journalism and PR course, stuff like that, writing for PR or stuff like that.
Right.
I was like, wow, this seems very much like I'm going to get the education that I want for the career that I want. Because at that point, if I'm not going to be a singer, which I'm still holding out on, to be honest, if I'm
Yes.
not going to be a
I'm
singer,
holding out on that too.
and I don't want to be a nurse anymore, I want to do something that really interests me. I know that I love LA and that I love the entertainment industry, and I feel like I could totally succeed in that space. And so that's why this seems like the best program for me, despite it being a CSU and not a UC or a private university. And I feel like I got exactly what I wanted out of it. I'm really happy with my decision.
One of the things you said was, I'm kind of good at it. Here's the thing. We can take the kind of out of it and just say, I'm good at it. We always have to think about how we change our language when we're talking about who we are and what we do. But the other thing that's really important is something that we all should remember is identify what our strengths are and champion them, go for it, lead with them, because often we're trying to fit ourselves into something else that's not a good fit.
Yeah.
So I always like to use use the example of accounting for me. From a larger accounting standpoint, I can manage the accounting for my business. I am not an accountant. Those are skills that I have. They are not strengths that I have. It's really important for us to remember to identify what our strengths are and lead with that and follow that, because there is a sense of accomplishment when we're focusing on our strengths versus trying to fit ourselves into something else. The other thing that you mentioned a lot. I love that you recognize and really did a deep dive into the program to find out how it was going to be meaningful for you. And the internship, I don't know that we talk about internships enough anymore.
That's a topic I would love to speak about.
Go ahead.
It doesn't have to be today, but
No. The floor is yours. We have time. Please, let's talk about internships.
I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with the internship.
Okay.
Because in the job market right now, and from what I have been noticing, is that if you don't have more than 3 internships, your resume isn't the best, right? If someone that I'm also applying, if I know someone else that's also applying to a job and they have 3 internship experiences and I have 1, okay, well, that person's getting the job. Because people, and I actually had a conversation with at Disneyland about this. I love Disney, so I was like, I would love to pick your brain about starting a career in Disney Studios. Well, if you're not part of our internship program, it's not gonna work. We like legacies. So that was super discouraging because I've applied to a Disney internship, multiple Disney internships every semester, and just nothing comes from it ever because I'm not a Disney legacy. They're telling me all our internships go to cast members, basically, people who are working in the parks already, and all of our jobs go to people who have had our Disney internships.
Wow.
Well, that seems a little unfair. And goes, unless, of course, you know someone within the company. And I was like, well, that also seems a little unfair. So you're telling me either I have to know somebody or I have to have been working at Disneyland since I was 16.
Right. Which becoming a cast member is not easy either.
No.
Right.
They also love legacies for that. So my friend works there, and the only reason she thinks she got the job is because both of her grandparents worked there. I didn't really want to work at Disneyland anyway. It seems like It is the happiest place on earth, and I don't want to be sick of Disneyland.
Yeah, you don't want to be sick of Disneyland.
So then I was like, well, I love internships for the fact that they give you job experience.
Hmm.
The one that I did for my required internship really taught me a lot about publicity and promotions for the entertainment industry and film. And wow, I feel like I could really do this. And this is something that I can see myself making a career out of. And now I'm currently applying to publicity and promotion jobs in LA and also some in San Francisco. Nothing's come of it yet.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
But I feel like that has given me such a unique skill set that the regular bachelor's degree in communications wouldn't have given me, which is something that I don't think I could have gotten or would have known about if I had gone to one of the different schools that I'd applied to.
Interesting.
Another part of my hate on this is that some internships are unpaid.
Yes.
And I think it's a crime because you are literally just getting free labor. The internship that I did, I actually had to pay to do because I did it over the summer and my financial aid didn't cover the class. So I paid $1,200 out of pocket for the class. And then it was in San Francisco and I paid to commute there every day. And so I was literally paying to do the job and not being reimbursed in any way. And while I loved the job, it was really hard. That definitely played a part in my overall experience. It would have been this much better if I had the money coming in from the work that I was doing. I planned an entire event. I had to work off my hours and stuff. And the event was after hours. I had to drive back and forth to San Francisco from San Jose to San Francisco, which is it's not far, but it's also not far. It's so hard when they're making basically all jobs are requiring internships and then they make it so incredibly hard to get one. And then also you're most likely going to be doing the internship for no reimbursement at all.
It's almost like we're not going to pay you, but you're going to get experience. But what type of experience? It challenges my thought process when you say someone needs to have at least 3 internships. But what if they have one internship, but they've been working part-time for several years or several summers and at different companies? How does that equate? It's the same thing that people often gripe about and saying, oh, you want me to have experience, but how can I get experience if you're not going to give me the job so I can get experience? Literally. So this, this black hole of what are we doing? It's just another thing that we need to look at. I'm looking at you because it's your generation that's going to be responsible for it. Changing some of these narratives that are these policies that have been in place. It's not even a policy. It's more of that unwritten rule. It's your generation that's going to be responsible for changing it. So please, can you change it? Can you change it? Get it going.
I mean, if it's up to me, I will.
I'm going to leave that with you. My other question, I know we're talking about LA, and I remember growing up, again, loving celebrity gossip, not really celebrities, loving radio, television, film. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Loving more television and film, which was my theme from a young age, and always having these bright, shining eyes about Los Angeles. I knew I wanted to be an actress at one time. Then I wanted to be the next Oprah, but no one can be Oprah. It was about what she was doing and how she was doing it. But one thing that I say now is I would never starve for my art. You hear the stories. A lot of people who were actresses, actors, and living five to a room, 5 to a studio apartment, eating ramen noodles. That's not my jam, which is probably why I took a different route as far as a career. What is it about LA for you that you love?
Just because I've always wanted to be a singer. I've always been, well, I'm going to live in LA and become a singer when I was a child, obviously. It's not that, it's much more complicated than that now, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I'm just going to go on American Idol and win, and then I'll live in LA and be a singer. That's just not how it works. But I think now, just as my priorities have changed and my views have changed, I feel it's still kind of applicable to what I want to do now.
Hmm.
I really enjoy, like you said, television and film. I'm really into film, and I'm not a snob, but I just love watching movies and being a part of movies. And my mentor is working in movies. And so through her, I got to kind of see the behind the scenes of everything. And I just find it so interesting. Well, this is a true opportunity. I could have what I've wanted since I was a little girl, and also have what I've wanted since I've started my educational career, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like still now, LA is still the place that can do both, you know?
Do you think you would ever consider New York?
I used to think that I would go to New York, but I've had friends that have moved there and I've never been, so I feel like I can't say no, right?
Okay.
But it's not immediately my go-to.
Yeah. We
I
should
love
go to
California. I
we
love
should go to New York
Okay.
for a
Let's
visit. But you just said you love California.
Yeah, I've always considered moving to England, but once again, it's like I've never been. So what if I was like, "Oh, I'll take a job in England," and then I go and I absolutely cannot stand England.
Yeah, you always have to visit and stay for a while before you figure out if it's your jam. Now, when we're talking about entertainment, we talked about communications. What is it about PR and publicity?
I love the idea of getting to work with my favorite celebrities, but
Mm,
also I took an entertainment PR class. I mean, I kind of always knew that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry before that, just
mhm.
because look at me, I'm a star. Uh,
Yes, yes. The language.
so obviously I have that connection, but then when I took that class, this is something really, really interesting to me. We got to do these hypothetical brand extensions for celebrities of your choice.
Mhm.
And my team chose we were going to do a music PR plan. And we chose Florence Pugh, who's
Okay.
an actress. We were going to have her release an album because she's been known to talk about she thought she was going to be a singer first, blah, 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 all those things. And just like getting to do that little hypothetical plan for a person who has no idea who I am,
Right.
wow, this seems like it could work. And I
Right.
feel like I'm a very creative thinker, and I'm really good at coming up with innovative ways to promote something. And I feel like I'm a good event planner. So naturally, just from what I've learned, I feel the PR and publicity side is definitely what of communications is what was leaning towards. And then that one project totally solidified.
This is one thing that I often think about when I think about PR, especially celebrity PR, because of course we know that there's celebrity PR and then there's also organizational PR. I've thought about this for years. When celebrities get in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not just celebrities, when anyone in a very public position gets in trouble, I always think, why is it taking so long for you to come out with a message? We know that behind, or we can assume, make the assumption, belief, behind the scenes, celebrity says something, does something, gets in trouble. Manager comes in, talks to celebrity, tries to find out what happens. Then they contact their PR person. If sometimes the PR person is on their team, other
Mm-hmm.
times it's a PR agency.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes days before the quasi apology. I've done a video on that. If you're going to apologize, apologize.
Yeah.
We're better than that. And beyond that, think about the time frame, because if you have to go through so many different levels to understand, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do to mitigate, what are we going to do to squash some of all of the bad press? And then there's that belief that bad press is still press, but
Yeah.
bad press is bad press,
Bad press is bad press. In
and
my
it will
eyes.
and it will stick with you because we don't forget anything.
Mm-mm.
So public relations is public relations. What do you think about when you see companies? There's a lot of companies that do some stuff. I'm not going to talk about some of these social justice mistakes that they do, but they take so long to respond. What would you recommend? For someone who, whether it's an individual or a company, how would you recommend that they approach bad press?
I would say for an individual, I feel people who have PR on their team are always going to be a little bit ahead of the curve
Mm-hmm.
because, from my understanding, everything you do with a person as a person's PR specialist, basically, or a person's publicist, you're looking for ways to either avoid bad press or have good press.
It's
Like
proactive. It's a
building
proactive.
building buzz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is like the main job of a publicist. Going to a third party agency is where you kind of start to lose the we're looking proactively, and you're kind of now just, oh, you're here to pick up the pieces. We've had multiple conversations about this in that class where we looked at how people responded, how certain celebrities and responded to bad press. When I took that class, a lot of stuff was going on. There was stuff with Lizzo going on and the comedian. There's, of course, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde stuff going on
Mm-hmm.
because that movie came out and it was bad. I think the movie came out and it was bad, and they were trying to use press to avoid critics.
Focusing on how bad it was.
Yeah, which
And
is also,
they had a lot of other drama
yeah,
around. Yeah.
which is probably a publicist's worst nightmare. But
Mm-hmm.
I would also hate to be part of an entertainment company's PR team right now. Maybe this is why I'm not getting hired, is because the writer's strike is happening. I don't feel like I've seen anyone really address it. No companies have, not Disney, not Warner Brothers, not Universal. I don't feel like I've seen anyone be like, we stand with the people who are striking. I've not seen one thing. And
It's hard for them to do that because,
I would hate to be on that team right now,
yeah, yeah.
because obviously you don't want to put yourself in the middle and then face the repercussions. PR is so good. Some
Mm.
people utilize it so well. And then other times I'm like, where is it? I don't know if it depends on the person, or it depends on the team, or it depends on the company,
Or all of the above.
or all of the above. I definitely know what you mean, where you've witnessed these kind of horrible things and you're like, well, where is a statement? How are you going to fix this? Tell us something. And you just don't see it. I know where I stand. I would be like, okay, we're drafting a statement and releasing it. But I
Right.
don't know what that decision making is in other people or other companies.
Who do you think does press well? Let's talk about celebrity wise. Celebrity can be celebrities, actors, actresses, singers, entertainers. It can be CEOs. Who do you think does it well? I would say this from the standpoint of PR and publicity, if I leave everything to you, then you could be cleaning up a lot of mess. Whether you're on a commercial, whether you have a podcast, whether you have a Hulu or a deal with HBO or whatever, you have a responsibility to your own personal brand. If I'm a celebrity, I need to be responsible for my brand first and foremost, so I can help my publicist, my PR team better promote me. Who do you think does it well?
I would say someone who I feel like has avoided any bad press is Zendaya. She has a brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen bad press about her. Everything she does, she's like gold, right? Everything she touches turns to gold. Actually, I stand by. I think Harry Styles, just because I am a big follower of him, I notice it a lot more now because of everything that I know. I think before this Don't Worry Darling mess, he had a great press team. Before every single album release or single release, he was getting on Rolling Stone or these really nice editorial magazines, and he was doing the Today Show. I think musically, whoever does his publicity and his PR for that is a genius. And he's the biggest person in the world. Just the other day, whoever keeps the charts announced that every single one of his songs on all three of his albums have been certified gold. He's the first ever artist to achieve that. So obviously, musically, his press is doing something for him. But for his other aspects of his life, I don't know who. I have so many people popping into my head. Beyonce, she's kind of like she can do no wrong. I was gonna say Taylor Swift, but I feel like it's kind of been letting her down recently.
She's had some hiccups. Everybody has hiccups, but I think she's had
Hiccups
some
that she
major.
doesn't respond to.
That's a very interesting point too, because from a PR standpoint, you're getting guidance on what you should respond to and what you shouldn't respond to. And some people, and I am not going to name any names, but there is a particular person who loves to be on Twitter. And I
Mm.
think a lot of it too is how much we talked a little bit earlier about confidence and our strengths. And when you're talking about Zendaya, Harry Styles, Beyonce, I would add Lizzo to that list as
Lizzo.
well. They know exactly who they are
Mhm,
within their space.
mhm.
I can always tell people whether they are a celebrity or whether they are a coaching client of mine who has some level of discomfort or lack of confidence. That comes out. It comes out in all of us and how we choose to respond. It's interesting in seeing how you're thinking about PR from doing the work and creating opportunities for people and just thinking about overall strengths. I will say I agree with you wholeheartedly on Zendaya, which is very interesting for someone who we hear about child actors.
Exactly.
But I think this is where strong parental guidance
Mhm.
makes a difference. Zendaya, I would say Yara Shahidi as well as Kiki Palmer. When we talk about our tribe, and we've talked about tribes before, and our team, you want to make sure you have a strong team that's not just your team that you pay, but that they are part of your tribe. They want the best for you, not just because you're paying them.
And I feel like you can definitely tell that someone's just paying somebody.
You can always tell. Good point. Since we're talking about PR, you like entertainment, so we'll include entertainers, those people who are celebrities, even sports professionals,
Mhm.
athletes in that as well.
They don't usually have the best publicity.
I agree. Even CEOs and executive leaders of major companies as well. It's important to recognize and remember, because this is another one of the many things that annoy me, is that they often forget that the public is pretty smart. We remember. That's the big thing.
Mhm.
We remember. You may not remember what you said, but we do. We remember. And it annoys me when, and I would say this is for even just regular people, like,
Mhm.
exes who say, well, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. I remember that.
You kinda get they're kind of trying to treat the audience like they're stupid. "Oh, well, did that really happen?"
Yeah.
Or if we don't talk about it, no one will say anything. But that almost spurs even more of a debate.
More debate, more ire, more anger, a
Mhm.
lot as well. Remind us who you are and what you're looking for, and the why. What's your why?
Oh my gosh. My why is I'm doing this because it's something that I truly, truly love and enjoy. And it's something that I know a lot of people who are unhappy in their careers. And I feel very thankful to have found a career that I can really picture myself doing for a long time. That's my why. I'm just gonna keep trying. If anyone's out there looking for a publicity assistant, I'm around. I'm here. I'm a hard worker. I'm a great team player.
You're dedicated, you're passionate.
I'm dedicated, I'm passionate, I'm funny.
Yes.
I'll bring some life to your team.
Ooh, I love that. But also, you said something earlier that really sticks out. Being a creative thinker is important. It's not that everybody can't be creative, but it's another thing when you take a step and there's an idea, and you take another step and there's an idea. It's not just ideas, but also knowing how to develop them,
Mhm.
execute them, make changes along the way and tweaks. That's a big portion of who you are, and one of the great strengths that is a feather in your cap.
Thank you.
Well, Claire, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's refreshing because, again, you mentioned it. A lot of people are in careers that they don't enjoy. And we often forget what it's like when we're getting our first, and I put these in quotes, real jobs. You have your degree. You just celebrated that graduation, that hard work you put in, that time frame of that program adjustment, which sometimes people think, I have to stay on this path. No, you can change your path. I'm excited to see what you do. And I agree. Hire her, hire her, hire her.
I'm good for my word.
You're good for your word. I'm not going to ask her to sing to close the podcast, even though if she wanted to. Maybe she'll share something with us on our socials. The one thing I want to leave you with is, did you know Ava DuVernay started out in PR?
Really?
Yeah. She didn't pick up a camera. I think she was in her early 30s before she actually moved into film production. Everything we do can lead up to our next. I'm
Thank you so much
excited for you.
having me. This was really fun. I'm so glad I got to talk to you. Thank you. I had such a good time.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Claire as much as I did. And honestly, we can all take a lesson and remember the value of good PR. It's not just for those who are famous, but for everyone with a personal brand. Now be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Tip That Scale for more practical content, information, and interviews you can use.